Hello everyone, I am Duke James. This is a video about mutant taxes, but not in mutant taxes. Alright, so I did a little not very scientific experiment in regards to rural infrastructure in mutant taxes. So I took some data from the game. This first slide is from the start of the game in 1356. Actually, it's about a month later because the burgers are messed up at the start of the game. Their information doesn't update to correct levels until the yearly tick happens a month later, so this is about a month later. Anyway, this is the data from the start of the game, so don't try to read this, you'll hurt your eyes. It's not really meant to be read. The next slide is from a new game that I started, where I let it go for 20 years. I did nothing at all in it, except a few things with Venice, since you start at war with them, but pretty much no province interactions, no interactions with the estates at all. This is that data. And then there is this third slide, which is data that is taken from my current game. So I took all of these data sets and I went ahead and I put them into Excel. And that is this. So these are the results. And first off, you can see from my initial assumption that there was a wealth transfer that occurred from the nobles, burghers, clergy, and the state to the peasants was true. As you can see that the peasant wealth increased from the start of the game of 606 to 1,954 in the current game, which is an increase of almost 250%. In the control game, the peasant wealth actually decreased to 562 ducats. And the peasant population in the control group increased less than about 2,000, but in the current game it increased by 34,395 compared to the start, so an increase of 19%. And then corresponding with that increase in wealth and wages increased 200% from 88 ducats to 263 ducats, so there was a corresponding increase in peasant consumption from 94 ducats at the start to 231, which is an increase of 151%, which corresponded with more of their life needs being met from 103 to 149, 44 to 105, and 11% luxury to 84%, and that caused the natural change of peasants to go to 1,012 compared to 207 in the control group. And then of course, because there was more labor demand than labor supply, the migration of peasants also increased 1,021 versus none in the control game. Over time, I would expect the wages in the province to drop due to the increased labor supply in the province, causing the wealth of the peasants to drop over time and bringing about a return to normal. The burghers' wealth compared to the nobles and clergy suffered a lot less of a drop. The nobles dropped 38%, the clergy dropped 20%. Nobles only dropped about 11%. That is because the nobles' population income increased from 104 at the start to 158, so some of their wages lost to the drop in, some of their wealth lost to the drop in wages was offset by an increase in their property income, and that property is the commercial property, so they were able to do more commerce because there was increased production of goods in the province. So their property income compared to the control game it dropped to 41 ducats, so that's an increase of 285%. So over time, I think the burghers will be better off despite an initial drop in wealth due to their increased incomes from commerce. And then you would be able to tax that commerce as well. So more commerce is good, more peasants is good. You can get more money from poll taxes, and you can tax the I think it's the chattel tax. You can tax the burghers for that. The nobles, their income dropped 99% from 19 to 0.2. So the nobles only make money from property. They don't work. So they're nobles. They don't work. But over time, I think that will adjust, and their population income will, their property income will go back to normal. Interestingly, so the nobles dropped. They were practically making nothing, and their wealth dropped 38%, but their life needs didn't drop a whole lot. Well, their life needs dropped 13%. Their comfort and luxury needs dropped a lot, but that didn't actually cause them to go negative. They're still growing. It's slower than the control game, but they're not dying off. So, also interestingly, the nobles, burghers, and clergy all dropped, but even in the control group, they dropped. Like the burghers' luxury needs went from 209% at the start, 298% at the start, to 228% in the control game. So I'm not sure what to make of that. Peasant literacy increased from 5.9% in the control game to 8.3%. I think that's mostly because of the higher education industry that I built. But interestingly, both in the control group and my current game, the burgher and clergy literacy dropped a lot. They dropped to about the same level, so I'm not sure why that happened, actually. I don't know what to make of that. Even with a higher education industry, they still dropped. But that is that sheet. The second sheet is the infrastructure. So as expected, due to the investment I made, the size of the farmlands and pest more than doubled right here. Although it dropped from around, I think, 570 to its current level of 427, so it lost quite a lot of size due to unprofitability. And it's currently still unprofitable. Actually, no, that's profit. So it's currently unprofitable. Here's the farmland's profit. So that should actually become profitable as wages continue to drop. Interestingly, farmland's income dropped, and the size dropped as well. This is the size, actually. Forests did become unprofitable as well, and their size dropped. That's because of the increased wages, but I didn't invest in forests, but they had to pay more wages, so that industry also dropped. So I think the best thing to do is invest in all of your province's industries at the same time, because they will shrink because of the increased wages. And then the burgher property income from commerce increased from 67 to 107. It dropped in the base game, but yeah, that fluctuates a lot, actually, because the province has to buy goods before it sells it, and has to build up a stockpile, so the commerce profit varies. And then the last sheet shows the industry size and income, and pretty much just from this, the land size doubled, leading to double the output of wheat, and the price of wheat decreased from 2.56 to 2.46, which is expected because the output doubled. So that's the data that I got, and I realized that since there were a lot more variables present in my current game, this wasn't the most scientific experiment. So the next thing that I could do would be to have 4 different data sets: the starting data, which I already have, a control data where I do nothing, and then one where I lump sum 100 ducats into the infrastructure at the start of the game, and a last one where I gradually invest 10 ducats every 2 years over 20 years, and then compare those 3 with the base and with each other. And my assumption would be that the gradual investment is the smoothest and works out the best, although I don't think in my current game it's not a really bad, I don't think it's particularly bad what happened, because you do have the increase of the peasant populations, so you can do a poll tax on that. You have the burghers becoming more wealthy from commerce. But I think if you invest gradually, you'll smooth out employment, and it'll be probably better for everyone. So that is all I have, so thanks for watching, and goodbye.